Welcome to Silent Symptoms, a Black mental health podcast. I am your host, Katasso Fridge, a Florida-based therapist. This podcast focuses on mental health, stigmas, and social injustices that affect the Black community. This podcast was created to bring awareness about mental health and can be used as an educational guide, but this is not to be used as a replacement for seeking help from a therapist. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for tuning in. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to manage your busy life or how to get structure in your day-to-day life, whether you are struggling with keeping a schedule or you have too much going on, you just don't know what to do. So to give you guys context, I know some of you guys know me personally and some of you know when I drop little gems in my podcast about my life. So I currently have a couple of businesses that I am currently running, and then also have some jobs that I work on my terms. So last year, I made the decision that coming into 2021, I will no longer work a job where it restricts me. So they won't tell me, like, you can't take this time off. You have to work this amount of hours. We need this from you. We need that from you. You can't go on vacation for a certain amount of time. All of that stuff was some of the things that I wanted to cut out my life because I found myself actually going too many places and I had to maneuver some things and I had to let them know like 2 months in advance. That's not for me. The type of life that my husband and I live, it's very fast paced. So we can get up and say we want to go here tomorrow, and that's what we're going to do. So if I have a traditional job, I'm unable to do so. So I found myself sitting there like disappointed or annoyed at the fact that I can't go to the specific thing that I wanted to do. So these are the jobs that I have. So number one, I actually have a private practice. So I developed my private practice in 2019. At the beginning, obviously, it was kind of like, you're getting there, you're getting a couple of clients and it's doing good. And then it picked up, like drastically picked up to the point where I had to actually put a restriction on myself because I wanted to see everyone that was coming through the door that I knew I could handle. But I had to make the decision to kind of limit that. So I have that private practice. I also have a hospital job where I also provide therapy part-time on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 12:30. That's when I'm like done with everything. And then I also work PRN or contingent or as needed for a hospital too. So all of my job, luckily, are jobs that I can actually work from home. So my private practice has primarily been at home because of COVID. So the hospital jobs are forever going to be at home. So I do therapy via telehealth. And then also for the other hospital, Ascension, I do therapy through video. So like people come through the emergency room, they experience some type of mental health crisis. I pop in on the video on the computer. I do my assessment and then we find placement for them. That's all the mental health stuff. And then there's a logistic business that I'm helping my husband run, a distributing company that we have, and also, a financial firm. So all of those things occupy a good chunk of my life and they each need my attention individually for whatever reason each time. So this is how I kind of control the narrative, along with being a wife. That's a lot in itself. All of those things, trying to keep up with the house stuff, trying to keep up with the wifely duties. And luckily, I have a very supportive husband who picks up everything that I don't do. So that's another asset that I have on my side. Like, he does whatever. So it really doesn't matter. We don't have gender roles. Like, you have to do this and you have to do that. So that was really helpful. So last year, I had a lot of transformation during COVID. So I also made the decision to obviously at the beginning of the year, I told my full-time job, which was the therapy job at the hospital, that I'm no longer interested in working full time. These are the hours that I am willing to give to you since you want me to stay on. And that's what I did. So in doing that, I created some space. Going from 40 hours, going all the way down to 15 is a big cutoff. And I also realized if I'm going to be working for somebody else, how am I supposed to, elevate my private practice, something that I'm building for myself on my own terms. I get to choose the clientele that I'm looking for. And, I don't have to see people that don't necessarily fit within my niche or my comfortability. So, and I can say, if I can't see a client today, I'm able to reschedule on my own terms. Or if I have a vacation, I don't necessarily have to plan too far ahead. Obviously, I have to be courteous to my clients that I do have, but typically they've been super supportive. They know ahead of time, so they know like we could switch days around during the week. If you work for somebody else, it's really difficult to switch things around. So that was one piece of my life that I had to really be honest with myself about where I'm trying to go. So the first step when you are trying to structure your life, number one, you have to come up with a plan. What is your plan? Like, what are you looking for in the future? What changes do you want to see in your life? And the second part is, okay, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself going long term? Do you want to work in corporate America forever? Because, business owner things are not for everyone. It's really not. We just have to be realistic about that fact. I know people are just pushing that narrative, but you have to own a business. You have to own that's not for everybody. We just honestly have to think about that. Some people just want to be that type of person that works for another person, get a paycheck that is solid every 2 weeks, every week, once a month, whatever that looks like for you. Some people want that. So be realistic with yourself about what your goals are long term, right? And with all of those things that I named that I did, this is how I structured my life. I had to find a balance. What I did was I said, okay, on Mondays and on Fridays, those are my free days that I can do whatever. So I don't take any private practice clients. And I also don't work at the hospital doing therapy on Mondays and Fridays, because I allow myself to have 4 days to do whatever I want, including the weekend. Now, there are some exceptions. So exceptions meaning that with my ED job, like I pick up shifts whenever I'm available. So which makes it really nice. So I get to pick, hey, do I want to, use this Monday to kind of work the 12-hour shift? Or do I want to use this Friday? Or sometimes it's on the weekend. So depending on what my week looks like, I decide how I want to control the narrative of what is going to happen. Do I have enough time to get the things done that I want to get done? So first, at the beginning of the week, I look at my calendar. I typically know that on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I see patients at the giving therapy from 7 a.m. to 12:15. That looks the same every week. On Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays as well, those are the days that I see my private practice clients. So I give myself, after 12:30, I give myself at least a 2-hour gap. So during that time, I eat lunch, I go to the gym, and I come back. And because of a lot of my clients work for corporate America, or they are, in college, I have to see them later in the day. So I see them maybe from 2:30 and until 6:30 or 7:30, depending upon what the day looks like. And some may be sprinkled to like some days I'm done at like 8:30, right? So because I have like a therapy in the morning for the hospital, I decided I didn't want to take my private practice full time during this time, because I had a lot of things going on. Like literally at one point I had 30 clients in private practice, plus the other 15 clients that I would see at the hospital. that wasn't working out for me. I couldn't keep my head on straight. It started to get too complicated. I was getting burnt out. So what I decided to do was, okay, let me cut this off. I want to be successful, but at the same time, I have to be passionate about what I'm doing, and I have to be intentional. If I'm tired or if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm not being the best therapist I can be for my clients. So I had to really have a conversation with myself, like, girl, what are you doing? Or the other option was quit the hospital, girl. That was really what I thought about doing, but it didn't really make sense because most of my clients need to be seen later in the day. So in the morning time, I'd be completely free. That would have been nice, but I was like, no, I need to just cut off private practice, and then I can fit some people in when I need to fit them in. Some days are longer than others. I'm not gonna lie. Some days are longer than others. And then in between the in-betweens. So on Mondays and Fridays, while I'm technically off from a job, I still handle my business with the logistic business, which really doesn't require too much out of me. And then the financial business, that requires a lot more time for me, but I could knock out a lot of things in like 2 hours. So I typically schedule time on my calendar. Where I figure out like how many clients do I want to work on today? Who am I going to talk on the phone with today? So I block that out and I make sure that that's what I'm going to do so that I don't overwhelm myself. So, it's always important to have certain things in your weekly schedule that look the same. Please write these things down if your schedule is not all over the place. It's all over the place. I don't recommend that someone who has several tasks in their life to kind of have a different schedule every week. It's really difficult and it's really hard to keep up with. That's when you miss calls or you're not on your toes. So that's why I kept my regular schedule for actual work that requires me to be present in front of someone Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then Mondays and Fridays are my off days. But honestly, I'm flexible about the things that I can do. For instance, like if I am on call for the hospital during that time period, obviously I'm kind of waiting to see who calls me. Sometimes they don't call me. I can get some trainings done for work, but also too, because I'm at home, I could get things done around the house and also get things done for my other businesses. But that's not my main focus at that time. If I don't put it on the schedule, it's not going to happen because I also have to think about my mental health and my self-care. Okay? So number 1, you prioritize, see what your intentions are. Number 2, what are your goals? Number 3, actually set up a schedule and structure it to where it looks the same every week for certain things that are important. I can't stress that enough. I don't even have a calendar, but I suggest people get one. I don't have a calendar because I keep things the same. The things that I don't keep the same, I have an alarm and I have a planner where I write things down strategically and specifically because I don't want to be known as that person that's unprofessional or that forgets or doesn't know what they're doing. Or I don't want to fall apart because at some point I was so busy, I felt like I was losing my mind. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to feel like I'm too overwhelmed. And when we think about these jobs, sometimes when I talk about my the logistics business, the distributing company, that's the easiest one, kind of works itself. And then the financial firms, I can do that while I'm watching television. So I could get people's finances together while I'm like watching TV, or I do it when I have that time schedule blocked. I try to not deviate from my schedule too much because that's when things get complicated. Now, fast forward. After my schedule is done, please stick to the schedule. Where people go wrong is where they try to fit people in, where they're spread too thin, or they forget to do certain things because they decided to do things that are not within their schedule. things happen, but I always suggest being intentional and structured in what you're trying to do if you want to be successful. People are like, oh, well, my mind won't let me do that. That's why you write it down. And if you don't write it down, or if you write it out and you don't listen to that, how are you supposed to be able to succeed? And how are we supposed to feel bad for you? Like, this is actually free game. A lot of people struggle with structure. It's not going to look good at first. And there's some things that you're going to have to do. The next thing is to delegate. Please delegate certain things that you cannot handle yourself to other people. I had to delegate certain things to my husband. He has his own clients that he's dealing with the financial firm, but I have my own clients that I'm dealing with, and he does certain things for the distributing business and the trucking business. That's just what he does. So at the end of the day, like, he has his own load that he has to carry, but I have more stuff because I'm client facing most of the time. He can do things on the move. So there are things that he can do more. Like, for instance, I have a certain schedule that I have to follow for private practice. So for instance, if I'm hurrying up in the morning, like this happens a lot, hurry up in the morning, I'm making breakfast and I'm like, I don't have time to clean the pans or whatever. He'll go in there and start cleaning that stuff. Now, this is the most important thing. Last year, I made the decision that I need a housekeeper. That's me being 1,000% honest, because I caught myself doing so much stuff, cleaning up the house, trying to be a businesswoman, trying to be an employee, trying to be a friend, trying to be a wife, trying to be all these things. It got to be too much. Trying to fit in fun. It was too much. And one of the things that I spoke up, like, God was listening to me, but I was like, I need a housekeeper. And I met someone in the most unconventional way. We had a conversation. The first time we talked, she talked about her housekeeper. And I said, housekeeper, say what? That was actually my first time seeing somebody or hearing somebody talk about having a housekeeper around me. It was like a complete stranger. We were having a form of interaction, and they're like, yeah, my housekeeper comes to my house and cleans it up. I was like, pause. Before we go any further, do you mind giving me information for your housekeeper? And she did. And then her and I saw each other one more time, and everything kind of fell off. But I feel like her purpose in my life was to come in and tell me about this woman who is amazing and helps me around my house. I'm not ashamed to say I have a housekeeper, because sometimes that's needed. I felt like that was one of the things that was taking too much time in my life. And she doesn't come every week. She comes bi-weekly. So it's within reason. In between the in-betweens, I have some cleaning up to do, but it's not as much. We don't have kids, so it's not messy, but it's just one of those things that we have to always keep together. So I decided that's something that I want to invest in, and it's been amazing ever since. That's when some of the stuff was lifted off my shoulder. Now, I wish I had a chef, but that's neither here nor there. I cook my own food too. My cooking and stuff and my meal prep happens on Sundays, and then I turn around and do it on Wednesdays. Sometimes I do it for the entire week. Excuse me. Sometimes I do it for the entire week, and sometimes it doesn't happen at all. See, those are the things that can be flexible in your life, but it is much easier for you to control the narrative if you get it done in the front end versus trying to scramble in between. Excuse me, what is happening? In the long run. So there's so many different things that you can do, but please have some type of structure in your life in order for you to see that success. You need to have some form of follow through. Some form of follow through, because that's the only way you're going to have structure in your life. How to find balance. That's how I became balanced. I planned out my weeks. I was intentional about what I wanted to see my life to look like, what were my goals, and where I was willing to delegate my tasks to somebody else so I won't have to worry about too much. I wasn't looking to be the superwoman, black woman that did everything and try to keep it together. I'm the type of person where, like, when I have kids, I am probably going to have a nanny. That's just what it is. Some people want to do it alone. I don't. I have an understanding of what peace means, because I've been in a place where I wasn't at peace because I wanted to be everything for everyone. And that is not my life anymore. So please be intentional and follow these tips and tricks. This is just the basis of how you can be successful. And the most important part that I forgot to mention: eliminate all distractions. The distractions can be people. The distractions can be yourself. If you're watching too much TV, you're not getting things done, you're lollygagging, you aren't really paying attention to the work that's in front of you, disregard what I said before about doing your work while watching TV. Because obviously it may be a problem for you. So that means that I need to eliminate the distraction of television or music. Let me go to my office and get some things done. If you're the type of person that likes to multitask like myself, I may watch TV and type, actually working faster, knocking out 10 to 15 clients, in one sitting. That may not be you. But if it's you, then you need to focus on doing what you're doing. You're doing just fine. But there are people who distract us too. People who always want us to go here, and there, but they're not aligned with where you need to be. So if that person is not aligned with where you want to be, eliminate them. Okay? And I thank you so much for suggesting this to me. And I look forward to talking to you guys. And thank you for tuning in, and follow me on YouTube. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. You can catch us on Anchor and all your favorite media streams. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Silent Symptoms Podcast. Let us know if you have any feedback or topics that you would like to hear.